right, let's get it popping. Lot to get to this week. Thank you for joining us here at ravorisports with all of our social media content. So if you're watching this now, thank you for joining us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter. Thank you very much. So now we're all doing a weekly live stream on all 4 of these platforms. So thank you for joining us here. Like and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. Genesis Notary Service /Facebook.com. You want to book a time with us, you can go ahead and do that on all of our social media platforms. Genesis Notary Services. If you live in the Shenandoah Valley area, you can go ahead and we will go out to you and do our mobile notary services, wedding efficient, any notary services that you need. Or if you want to buy some merchandise, ravorisports at gmail.com, or you can go to our Facebook page. Go to Facebook and type in Ravery Sports. You'll go ahead and see it. Merchandise is on their site. Hats like this one here, Oriole hats, Ravens jerseys, Lamar jerseys, Ray Lewis, Joe Flacco. All of these are on the Facebook page. Now, a lot of them are on there as well. Sweatshirts, T-shirts, things like that. All this type of stuff is on there. And if you don't see it, you can reach out to us and we can order it for you. All right. Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us today. A lot to get to. So let's get it going. Let's get it popping, as they would say in the day. Old 80s slang. Get it popping. All right. Ravens mock draft. So this is now in mock draft season. Now that we have done free agency and all that, a lot of teams have done free agency. Ravens haven't done it. But free agency, the first wave, the big wave of free agency, now over. Needs of the teams may have changed a little bit. Teams have filled some of their needs in free agency. So now we see this part where Ravens mock draft maybe is a little bit different. Also, too, with this as well. Now in the part of the season where we see a lot of smoke screens. Okay, keep that in mind. Now I think this area here, post free agency, whatever, you see things where teams are saying things that are just to throw people off. They're really interested in one guy, or they're acting less interested in one guy. So keep that in mind. A more truer draft mock, I think, is really right after, in general, is right after Senior Bowl, etc., right after the college season, and then right before the draft. Because now, once you have that, then you kind of sifted through a lot of the bluffs and all that other stuff. A lot of that's going on. So what are the Ravens going to do now that we are post free agents? Now let's take a look. Now in the first draft, I had Brian Branch. To me now it looks like it's going to be a receiver. They haven't done anything as far as receivers. Nelson Aguilar, I think, was brought in for a visit. The only one I know of. We've heard Odell Beckham's name several times. I don't know. They have to take a receiver. They have to do it. I don't think there's any question. This is the best one on the board. I think you're almost overdrafted him a bit. I think it's a bit of a projection with him, but the upside here is tremendous. All the physical attributes you're looking for. I think he's got to work on his route running, but I think if you have Lamar Jackson on your team, this will absolutely work. Big physical receiver, great speed. Route running, I think, needs work yet. I mean, ultimately, I'd like to see him like an early 2 or something. But if you're taking it 22, he's probably going to get drafted in the first round. Quentin Johnson, I think, is going to be the first pick for the Ravens, pick 22. Ravens do not have a second-round pick, so we go to round 3. Got to take a corner as well. Eli Ritchie, quarterback for Alabama. What a better school to go to than to get corners and to get defensive players than the University of Alabama. Very, very physical, tough corner that the Ravens like. They like to take players from Alabama. I think you have to take a corner here on the second round. Talk of Rocky and Sim. Marcus Peters is still out there. You never know. But I definitely think even if you do that, I think you again corner you have to do. I think you do that in the third round. Definitely, I believe that this is the option that they're going to look at in round 3. Looking for a guy who can play slot for you, absolutely. Rashee Rice, I had him in the first one and I have him in this one. I think they're going to take another receiver. I think they're going to take at least 2 in the draft somewhere. I think it'll be earlier here. A guy, tall, lean, again with the route running. I don't know. Playing at SMU, not that wide open offense. It's hard to tell with the route running, but definitely a guy with speed and hands and tall. Ravens like these tall receivers. I think it's a bit of a not that big of a risk here in round 4 if you take a guy like this. SMU guy, he's not a day 1 starter, but I think maybe he can help you on special teams a little bit, maybe like a 4th receiver while you're developing. Good upside here, Rashee Rice. Round 5, Nazir Stackhouse. This is more 3-4 end. 3-4 end. Teams like don't disclose nowadays what type of do they when they say like what type of defense, well, multiple things. Yeah, they're traditional 3-4 base defense and more of a D tackle if you're running like a 4-man line. Nazir Stackhouse played on a good line with Jalen Carter. Set the edge, a lot of size, typical great guy like for like I don't want to go as far as saying a Calais Campbell, but good guy like that to have on your team. Good guy to have a 3-4 end, even like that defensive line rotation. Stackhouse, I think, fits perfectly in there. They're also you find quality guys like this at this position late. So it's not unusual that you find a guy at this position late. That's your Stackhouse. Why not take a Michigan guy? We know how familiar the Harbaugh family is with the Michigan players. Seems like they take a lot. Andrew Stuber, offensive guard tackle from Michigan. You've already lost Ben Powers. A little bit of surprise. Tristan Colon signed with the Jets. So there's a guy that so depth is kind of down a bit. Maybe you need to go ahead and replenish that offensive line with 2 guys from Michigan, with 1 guy from Michigan. Can play tackle. I think this is mostly a guard. This is why you're taking him so late. Mostly a guard here, a guy that can really solidify you on this offensive line. That's something that they need for depth. Not a bad thing to do in the 6th round to help your team. Go ahead if you want depth. 6th round, great position to take inside. Look, a lot of the guards, tackles in the league are guys that were taken late, middle round guys. So, Quentin Johnson, TCU, wide receiver, Eli Hicks, cornerback, Alabama, Rashee Rice, and him in the 4th round, Nazir Stackhouse, defensive end tackle from Georgia, and also that was the old draft, 7th round, Andrew Stuber from Michigan. There you go. So there is the mock. There made a lot of changes based on the free agent activity. Ravens have not signed any free agents. So again, if they had, let's say, signed a wide receiver, okay, then I would say, okay, well, all right, or like sign the cornerback or sign, they haven't done anything. I think their number 1 priority has to be the wide receiver position, and you don't have a 1st and 2nd. So again, we'll see. I would suspect, again, I think I said this before, that they'll trade back a bit. I got to think that's what they're going to do, but I don't do that one in my mock drafts. And I got to think and knowing how DaCosta and Ozzie Newsome think, trading back is probably a thing they're going to think about. So let's do another mock draft. You thought we were done. We are not. We're going to do a second mock draft. This time, we're going to do the entire league. Lots of changes. in the NFL mock draft. Since we did our last one, Panthers now the number 1 pick overall. That's huge. So what are the Panthers going to do with the number 1 pick? Lots of smoke they're doing. Like I mentioned, a smoke screen. One mock, I even saw Anthony Richardson one. That's not gonna happen. That's crazy. They might like him, but they didn't trade up to get him. They traded up to get Bryce Young. Bryce Young is going to go ahead and be the first pick. For me, I think Stroud is better, but only by the hair of the chinny chin. I got no problem if you take Bryce Young. I think for me, Stroud, I think a lot of people are sleeping on the season he had. And also, I think the size is a real thing. I think over a long career, I think Stroud is built for it more. The Texans are going to take him, I think, with the number 2 pick. I think they'll take either one. It's there. I absolutely believe that they're going to take a quarterback. They haven't taken a quarterback in free agency or anything like that, so I definitely believe that. It makes sense that they take C.J. Stroud. Will Anderson is 3rd for Arizona. Arizona is definitely not going to be taking the quarterback. They could move back. They could go ahead and go to trade back. I could absolutely see that somebody maybe wanting to jump ahead of the Colts. But Will Anderson, I think he's outstanding. I think there's a little bit of a sleeping on Will. I mean, it's hard to say you're sleeping on something taking 3rd in the draft. He's really good. Will Anderson jumps off the screen. Will Levis, the Colts are 4th. A lot of Anthony Richardson talk all of a sudden has been that Will Levis is kind of dropped. I don't think the Colts would take Anthony Richardson. This kind of more fits a more traditional type guy, and I think you'd have to play more. I think Will Levis can possibly play right away. I don't know if he is. I don't know if he excel right away. I think he could possibly play right away in the right circumstance. I know this too. This guy's not trading up. Chris Ballard is the most stubborn. You think the Ravens are stubborn? He's not going to trade. It's going to be 4 lower. He's not going to trade up. So I think Will Levis is there. They might actually trade back to do that if they're going to do that because Will Levis may be dropping a bit. Tyree Wilson, defensive end outside linebacker for the Seahawks. I definitely think they can use that. Pete Carroll likes those defensive players. Richardson, again, I think this would be a spot. I think Richardson is not a first-round pick. People are falling in love with his athleticism, which I can understand. He's not a first-round pick. This would be the spot, though, if they were to do it, that would make the most sense because he wouldn't have to play right away. Wouldn't have to play right away, and he could kind of sit behind Geno Smith, and that would work, I think, the best. But I don't think they do that. I don't think the Seahawks are in a rush to do that since they have Geno Smith there. I think maybe they wait a year or two. Why not? Take quarterback. But it would make sense. They do have 2 picks in the first round as well, so they may take a shot at it. But I think I think they go defense. Jalen Carter is dropping a bit. Maybe the best player in the draft goes to the Detroit Lions. D tackle. He's game record. If he can get his off the field stuff squared away, you're getting a guy here with fantastic athleticism, huge and hard to block. You're gonna have to put 2 guys on him. A lot of similarities to Aaron Donald when I've seen him. Christian Gonzalez, I think, is the number 1 corner. I think the Raiders go ahead and take a look at him. I think, to me, Raiders, you never know what they're going to do. you never know what they're going to do. You never know how they're going to do anything. I think they absolutely look at corner here. Again, I've seen Richardson here again. I don't think so. I think they just got Garoppolo. I think they go defense here. A lot of good defensive guys. Anthony Richardson here, Atlanta Falcons. I definitely think they don't have a quarterback at all. Desmond Ridder, I think that's kind of a smokescreen that they're going to go with Ridder. They do that. Desmond Ridder looked awful to me last year. I don't think they have any confidence in that. I think they're saying that. But I definitely think they definitely looking at the quarterback. Richardson, I think, is the guy that's going to go here to Atlanta. Bears traded to 9, Miles Murphy. I think you're getting a guy almost as good as Will Anderson. Definitely outside linebacker. They're definitely going to build that defense. They've done a lot on offense. They got DJ Moore on offense. They went ahead and got Tremaine Edmonds. They got some guys. I think they're going to build that defense. Mikey Manny with Flus, they're going to build that. Brian Brees moved up a bit, higher maybe than his overall ranking, but I think it fits with Philly. Philly definitely lost Javon Hargrave in free agency. This is a guy, Clemson guy, that is going to go ahead and help him. You can start him right away on that team, absolutely. This hasn't changed much from my previous mock. Stronsky, Tennessee Titans, offensive tackle. They need a lot. They seem to be in blow-up mode. I think they take the best offensive tackle on the board. Jackson Smith-Njigba. Look, you're taking C.J. Stroud. I think you're going to take a wide receiver here as well. They traded away Brandon Cooks. I definitely think they're looking at receivers with the second pick. They're going to build that up. Paris Johnson, offensive tackle for the Jets. We'll see if the Jets still have this if the Rodgers trade goes through. We don't know what the compensation is for that. Broderick Jones, offensive tackle for the Patriots. Patriots love offensive tackles. This is probably the best team maybe in the entire NFL as far as one of them, as far as offensive tackles, production, offensive line, historically really good. Michael Mayer, Green Bay Packers at tight end. Definitely is a guy, easy best tight end in the first round in the draft. Dalton Kincaid, seeing that name a lot. I don't think he's at the same level as this guy, Michael Mayer. I take him. Joey Porter Jr., the Commanders. There's a mess going on with the Commanders, and they could use a guy like this, Joey Porter, who is, I think, one of the 3 elite corners in the draft. No question about it. You can go ahead, put them on an island. The Commanders' defense isn't actually half bad. I don't think that's their issue. I mean, they have more, I think, issues of quarterback on offense, etc. I think all the quarterbacks will be gone for them. I think you're picking here. I think it's too late to get a quarterback. Anton Harrison for the Steelers, offensive tackle. Their biggest need is offensive line. Definitely. May take a corner as well. I think that's possible, but I think if they can take offensive line, they definitely have to do it. That's probably the biggest flaw on the team. Along with corner, they did sign Patrick Peterson, so I think they've upgraded the corner. Brian Branch, safety for the line, number 1 safety on the board. I think on the Lions, he's going to play safety. They went and signed Sutton from Pittsburgh. I think this is the top safety on the board. I think the Lions definitely do that. They filled some needs for free agency, so I think they're going to go with the safety. Deontay Banks, the Maryland product, the cornerback. He's going to go ahead. Tampa Bay Bucks. Another team I think that would love to go QB, but they're not there. They signed Baker Mayfield, for God's sake. I think they go defense. I think this is the best defensive player on the board, best player on the board for them. Lucas Van Ness, set the edge. He's got defensive set the edge all over him. Great fit in Seattle. Good place for any defensive player to go, in my opinion. Seattle, go play for Pete Carroll. Dolphins forfeited their pick at 21. Bjorn Robinson, the best running back in the draft, top 5 talent. Absolutely. Any value teams who don't value running backs, one reason he's falling as far. Looks like they're falling out here with Austin Eckler. Won't extend his contract. Definitely you could use some help at running back. Justin Herbert could use a guy. Anybody could use a guy of this talent. Quentin Johnson, I think, is the Ravens. Very quiet free agency. Definitely got to take a wide receiver, I think. Cam Smith, cornerback. I think this guy might be the best nickel corner in the NFL. They definitely, by losing Patrick Peterson, need to get a little bit younger on defense. Defense kind of underachieved. I think going defense for the first couple of picks, you might see that from Minnesota. Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback for Jacksonville Jaguars. Outstanding defensive back. Great defensive back class here. A lot of good corners that you can take here in round one. With them, Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is the wide receiver. They're going to go ahead and do that in round one. Also, I got that. Still had that from before then. Bijan Robinson, wide receiver from Dallas. I don't think Dallas goes ahead and does that. I think Dallas goes ahead and takes the other one, Jamar Gibbs. I think they absolutely look at him from Alabama. So that's a typographical error. Management appreciates your cooperation. Gibbs from Alabama is what's supposed to be in. So you see Robinson. Osiris Torrance is the guard from the Buffalo Bills. He's the best offensive lineman in the draft. No question about it. Osiris Torrance is outstanding. I think only the reason he's even going this late is because he's playing guard. True guard, he's not going to take him that high. Maybe there's a team, but he's again like Robinson, like talent. Clark Phillips, hey, a lot of losses in the secondary. I don't know if these losses were bad process. I didn't love their safeties anyway. Nick Scott, they went ahead and signed. I think they took a guy like Clark Phillips. Trenton Simpson is the guy that is there for the Saints at 30. He's the best pure linebacker in the draft. Best pure linebacker. So Saints, definitely they went ahead and solved the quarterback thing with Carr, with Derek Carr, right? They went ahead and did that as well. 31, Antonio Johnson, safety for the Eagles for Texas A&M. Watch film on this guy. It sounds like a car crash. Every time he hits somebody, it's serious. Not as great in coverage. The only reason he's dropping is this guy hits with purpose. Outstanding to see. Physical freak Nolan Smith. Bit of a risk. I like it though. He's a guy, if you see him, he's very, very athletic. Ran a 4.3 defensive end at the combine. So absolutely. There you go. Mock draft over. All right. So what does this mean as far as the Ravens go? Look at the draft here. Lots of corners going, lots of defensive guys going, and everything, etc. Wide receiver need is important. They've kind of got, I think, the Ravens a pass in terms of their wide receiver room, frankly. They were god-awful last year. I mean, I would say they were 32 of 32 in the league in terms of receiver. Maybe the Giants were worse. Maybe. And that's only reason I'm even giving him that is that if you say Bateman's the number one receiver and healthy, he's probably better than anybody else they have. That's it. So definitely, I think they have to take a receiver. I'm still of the belief that probably they trade back and get more picks or do something to get more picks. Patrick Queen may be traded. You never know. But we'll see how this goes. So mock draft is out there. So definitely check it out here. Draft day is coming soon at the end of April. All right. Let's talk about the Terps and the Crimson Tide. So second round, Terps went down pretty tight in the first half. They kind of got pulled away in the second half. Young guy there, Nate Oates, is the coach at Alabama. Definitely done a good job. Has a team, maybe the number one team, definitely maybe the best team in college basketball, has the opportunity to go ahead and cut down the nets. Brandon Miller, controversial. We're going to get to the rest of that in a second. But Brandon Miller had a great game, 19 points, 7 assists in this one. He was obviously the best athlete on the court. This is the difference between Alabama being a 1 seed and Maryland being an 8 seed. When you have these two guys on the court. Quigley had like 22 points in the game. They played very well in the second half as well. This guy all over the court. Not a lot of offense, I think, from Maryland at all in the second half. they kind of go as young goals, and these better teams really put a good defensive emphasis on him to go ahead and stop him from doing a lot. Let's talk about this real quick. We're going to talk about Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller was a guy, and I don't know all the circumstances around this, but apparently he brought a gun to a site where somebody died, where there was a tragedy. This was alleged, reported by the police, and apparently he had his own gun, and he went ahead and he was cleared by authorities, and the team went ahead and allowed him to play. A couple things. I notice every time his name comes up, they bring him. I feel sorry for him. I mean, especially if he is innocent. Every time they bring that up, because they brought it up several times with him. Saw it on the pregame show, saw it during the game, saw it in the first. Saw it, and they keep bringing it up. In his case, the only thing I will say is this is kind of the world we're moving to, and this is not the police and all that, and this my personal view of it. Just living in a world more where people carry more firearms, you know, whether we like it or not, and I think that's just part of the world that we live in nowadays. You know, people don't have checks anymore. They use the cell phones or whatever, and people carry more guns nowadays. I don't like the idea of a young man, 18, 19 years old, having a permit for a gun, if that's the case, or carrying a gun. But I can tell you, I have a friend of mine, one in particular, but several that I know. Every time you see him, he's carrying a weapon. That's just the world we live in nowadays. You know, so I think that is kind of my thing with that as far as him. You know, I think people over and over, why didn't the police do this? Why didn't I think part of it is that's just kind of the world we live in. Right or wrong, that's the truth. The other part is too, and nobody wants to say this one. He's a great player. They don't want to suspend him. This is kind of like what makes it so weird with Lamar Jackson. That, you know, teams don't want to do that. I don't care what they say. They don't want to just suspend a great player. They don't want to, you know, if he can legally play, please clear him. He's going to play. So, and I think that's they're going to play going on. I think they're going to go ahead. Definitely, we're going to check out the rest of the March Madness and see how they do going forward. So hopefully all of us can put this behind us and things like that after the tournament, that we don't keep talking about this incident that we had. Now, Maryland, next year, what's going on? Top 15 recruiting class, headed by Deshaun Smith, Harris Smith from Fairfax, Virginia, Jaden Kaiser, 4-star from IMG Academy, Jonathan Lamont, St. Francis in Baltimore, right near my grandmother's house there. In Baltimore, St. Francis, Brandon Pierce, IMG Academy as well. So they got a good recruiting class. That's a good freshman coming in. It's possible that they're getting Jameer Young back. There may be an exception where he's able to play again. And they're for sure going to have Julian Reese. I think also he's going to have a bigger role. They're going to be ranked to start next year. Expectations are going to be higher. We'll see how the Terps do going into next season. I think they overachieved this season. Good for them. They went about as far as they probably should have. Their best player was a guy from UNC Charlotte. Oh, I'm sorry. They don't call it UNC Charlotte. So, and they went to the Big Ten and they won games last year. Good for them. So as they go forward, we'll see how Kevin Willard does going forward. All right. So let's go ahead and shift to baseball. We're going to talk about this. All right, so we got a couple of topics we're going to go over. We're going to go over some larger MLB content here. And we're going to talk a little bit about the World Baseball Classic as well, which was, let's start there. In fact, let's start there. Let's start there with the WBC. Was the WBC awesome? The last game was. I didn't watch a lot of it. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, but it was very cool to watch that WBC and watch that game at the end. How cool was it to see Trout go against Ohtani on his team and see those two teams? And you know what the sad part about it was? I think that was the first time I remember seeing Trout in any type of big spot like that, or Ohtani. To see them in that, Japan goes ahead and wins the WBC. Much better than I thought. Much better ratings than I thought. Go figure. And that's great. Great for the game. That the team that, and you could tell I could say this. The players were excited. The players were excited to have an opportunity like that to represent the country. They enjoyed it. So I thought it was an outstanding finish there. I didn't watch as much of it as that last game was fantastic. I thought it was very good for the game to have a game like that, interest like that in the game. Japan, best players in the world, at least in the WBC. Also WBC, how much will the Edwin Diaz injury hurt the Mets? Ooh. Oh, wow. It's horrible what happened. I mean, he goes and pitches well, and then he gets hurt just like on a fluke random thing. So it's lousy. I could say this. There is no replacing an Edwin Diaz. There's no such thing. There's no replacing a guy at that level. I think he was on his way to being the best closer in all of baseball if he wasn't already. He's got the coolest entrance beside of Ricky Vaughn. So we're sad we're not going to see Timmy Trumpet at all this year. This may put them behind the Phillies. We're going to do an MLB prediction video this week as well. But and they're in a tough division. So this hurts. I think the only thing you do when you have this is you find the best guy you can. You hope David Robinson can pitch. Maybe you go out and get Craig Kimbrell. Maybe do something like that. I don't think there's anything you can do in this situation with that. It's unfortunate. I understand Met fans being upset with the W and all that. I totally get it. This guy is awesome. I think he was the one thing on the team too that separated them from the Braves and the Phillies, and you have a guy at the back end like this that really helps you. So yeah, I understand. Will Corbin Burns end the season? End the season with Milwaukee Brewers. I don't know exactly what's going on with Milwaukee. I'd say this. Looking at them on paper, they look good enough to beat St. Louis. They look good enough. They look better than the Cubs. They look better, but it seems like they got a mess going on. I don't follow them closely enough to know exactly what it is, but they seem to have this stalemate with Burns already. Now, I don't know if they don't have the resources to pay him. I don't know. But I don't think, again, this should be that hard. You have a guy at this level. You want to go ahead and keep him. He might be the best pitcher in all of baseball. I would think you would want to build around him. But it seems like he's having these issues. They don't really want to do. And I don't think they're that far away. But I don't think he ends the season. I think they move him. They may not. It goes to they may not have the resources to keep. I gotta think that's what it is with that. But I think they may move him. I don't think he finishes with them. I think they definitely move him to the team. And I think they're going to get a big haul. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Will Tatis return to form with the Padres? Absolutely. No question about it. This guy is, if he's healthy, he can hit. I don't see also, too, in that lineup any reason why you won't hit with all those guys there. So it's not like he has to carry the load by any stretch. I mean, you have Machado and Sato and Juan Soto and the Chrome Zone, and all that. There's no reason why he couldn't hit 3-4 and be one of the best players in the major leagues again before his injury. We'll see how much the lack of enhancement played a factor. That'd be the only thing. But I don't see any reason why Tatis couldn't be MVP candidate for the Padres. Will the bigger base help get more stolen bases? So many people seem to think so. I'm not as much in that camp as other people. I that's probably right. The reason I don't think so, I think you'll get more. I don't think you'll get as many as people are thinking. I don't think teams just don't play that way anymore. I think that's going to take a while. Hitters don't really, the hit and run and bunting and all that stuff is dead. So I think it's going to take a little bit longer to get more steals. They didn't move the base up. I think the pitch clock more than the base size will help. I don't think you're going to get that many more steals than we had before. You get more. I think there'll be some do that, but I don't think you're going. I think I've heard like, man, we're going to get a lot. I don't think so. I don't think that's the way the game is played. Things like that. I don't think so. You may get to that, and I know they're trying to get to that, but I don't think you're going to get a guy with 100 steals. I don't think you're going to get a Ricky Henderson. I don't think you're going to get that. You know, like a guy like Mullins may go from, like 30 plus. I think he may go from 30 to 45 or something like that. So I think you'll see more, but I don't think you'll see as many as people seem to think. A lot of people think it's going to be a lot. I don't know about that. Will the Orioles sign any long-term extension for players? No. Bringing this up, Corbin Carroll signed an extension. I think it was 8 years. He's basically got the same time. I mean, he's eligible for rookie of the year, same just like Gunnar Henderson. Arizona went ahead and locked him up. Orioles don't. I think I've said this, and I keep seeing it on the blogs and everything and all these forums. People just don't think. I don't know why. They don't have money. They don't have. I haven't heard of any, and I've been asking around. Hey man, if anybody heard anything about Adley or Gunner or any? Nope. There's been nothing. And it's unfortunate that that's just the financial reality for the work, and it just would. I hate to see a guy. See, here's the thing with the young players. It's fine to have young players, but the concern I have is you get young players, fine and dandy. I mean, it's good that you have young players, but this is a cycle that the Pirates are in. You get a young guy, he performs well, and then now you're trading him. Look at the Brian Reynolds situation out there in Pittsburgh. Like every time they get a young guy, they trade him because you don't have enough young players. And then let's say if you're lucky enough, you get 5 or 6, you get enough of a core to win some games, then you just have a small window. That's the size you would have to the Orioles a few years ago, 2012 and all that, when you had Jones, Markakis, and after they traded away, after the trades for Tejada and Miguel Tejada and Eric Bedard, you got a huge haul that really helped your minor league system. And you lost for a few years, and then you were able to, we like to see the long-term extension so you sustain it. You get young players for a few years, and then they disperse out because you don't have enough money. So we'll go. I hope to be wrong. I hope that the Orioles are actually going to go ahead and sign guys to long-term extensions, so we can go ahead and get that taken care of. Speaking more of the Orioles. So spring report here. A couple more topics we're going to get to today. Don't know this for a fact yet. Kyle Gibson, I think, is likely going to be your your opening day starter. He was the guy they invested in the most in the offseason. And I think he's having, look at the stats here. Now, spring stats aren't always a great indicator, but he's having the best spring. He's had 2-0 win. He's 2-0, and he's had a 1.29 ERA. It's been really good. I think like that's the way it's going. I'm hearing every time more and more I'm hearing that he hasn't announced it yet. Even though we're only a couple days away, I think it'll be Kyle Gibson getting the ball on the first game. So we'll go ahead and check that out as well. This is the order of and what I've seen as far as stat wise, the better in terms of the springs they've had. Okay, in terms of so in order. So the first one: Gibson, Irvin, Kramer, Rodriguez, and Brett. So Kyle Gibson, Cole Irvin, Dean Kramer, Grayson Rodriguez, and Brett. As far as your starting rotation, those guys, as far as that's how good they've been in the spring. Irvin's been really good. I think been very impressed with him. Looks very calm. Looks very surgical on the mound. And I think one thing strategically that Mike Elias did, he works fast. So the pitch clock and all that is not messing with him. He's been a quick worker. So that's a good thing. Dean Kramer has been solid. ERA about 3. Rodriguez was good up until his last 2 starts. He struggled a bit. Bradish, I don't know why everybody automatically put him in the rotation. I didn't get it. I thought he's a little inconsistent last year. I thought he was good, really good at times, and then not good at other times. I'd like to see him fight a little harder, but apparently he's going to be in a rotation as a 4th or 5th starter. I think he's been the worst of the group so far, but it is spring, so we'll see how we are when the real season starts. All right, Nick Vespi. Here was a guy who was possibly going into the bullpen, pitched a little bit in the bullpen. He was sent to AAA. Bruce Zimmerman, former starter for them. They were sent to Norfolk. Probably the 2 most well-known guys sent to AAA as well. Not a big surprise, Zimmerman. Zimmerman, I think I almost would put him in the category, the old term, a 4A pitcher. He's, for those of you who don't know the term 4A pitcher, he's really good in the minors, but not good enough to be in the majors. You know, he's really good. You put him in AAA, it's like, wow, he's stat, and you bring him to the majors, he gets hammered. You know, that's why I see a lot of it. Maybe a bullpen spot on a team that really needs some bullpen help. That's what he is. Vespi, I think, wasn't as good in the spring. It was kind of a numbers game. You know, it's going to be hard to get one of these bullpen spots. We know we're not going to have Dylan Tate. We're going to have Batista come back this week healthy. And we're going to go ahead and keep monitoring that as well, as we're going to have regular season games here very soon. This week, also, too, we're going to have our predictions video. That should be dropping. I think I actually forget the day, but it should be Monday coming, where we're going to have the predictions video for all the MLB, and we're going to look at who wins the World Series, who goes ahead and goes to the playoffs, who wins the awards at the end of the year. We're going to go ahead and do a predictions video. All right. Definitely going to talk about this. The Real Housewives of North Avenue. Lots of drama here. Juan Dixon was let go as the head coach at Coppin State University, school, North Scotia. I went to it for a couple of years. And he was let go as the head coach. Let's do good first with Juan Dixon. Juan Dixon, I think, is probably the most significant Maryland player with all due respect to a lot of guys, not named Len Bias in my lifetime. He was the main guy when we won the championship under Gary Williams. Totally revitalized the thing. Awesome player on the court, college player, outstanding college player. Had a pro career, not a very good pro career. About okay. Did several years in the league, decent enough pro career. I think he was a little small-ish for the NBA, not a great shooter. You're like his height, like 6'3", 6 foot. Like you really need to be a Steph Curry, a real killer for the NBA. It's kind of not what he was. Maybe a little bit smallish for a two guard as far as the NBA. So really a guy outstanding. Worked as a coach for a couple of years. I'm going to defend the record. Everywhere I've heard with Coppin State, he has a bad record. I'm going to defend it a little bit. I think I'm the only one I've heard say this. The problem with the record, the reason I'm going to defend it is it's kind of what Deion Sanders was talking about. Even when I was going there, they have like all these road games you can't win. Like if you go to Coppin State, their season starts in November. End of November-ish, maybe right around a little bit before Thanksgiving. They'll go all the way to like after New Year's before they have a home game. They play all these games, Alabama, Maryland, all these pay-for-play games, and they lose. So by the time you get to January, your record's so bad, and if you don't win all your conference games, like it looks worse. Like MEAC teams go in the tournament maybe 2 games over 500, 4 games over 500. I think maybe Howard won 20 games. Rarely, even though in the Fannie Mitchell era. So I'll defend the record a little bit. I think a lot of that was that as much as it was his ability. Now let's get to the rest of it. I did talk to a source at Coppin State because I did work. I did go to school there at Coppin State. They're delighted this time. A lot of what we've heard has been true. The source there said he didn't really have control of the team. They didn't really respect him. It did happen. There was an accusation of one of the assistants sexually harassing misconduct of the player. That was reported in the Baltimore Brew. Apparently it was catfishing. Made the player sleep with him and all this other foolishness. And apparently it was brought to his Coach Dixon's attention, and he didn't fire the guy or anything. The guy was still there coaching up until he got fired, and there was a lawsuit because of it. So this was all reported by Baltimore Brew. Apparently apparently what I heard too, that's all correct. That happened there at the school. It's unfortunate that we had a situation like that. The blogs and things are saying, I'm almost don't even want to bring this up, but there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. I heard like he had other women there that was not his wife at games and all this other stuff in the week games and all that. Who it is and all that is not important to me, and that's besides the issue. But what I would say this, and when I could not confirm that part of it being true, but I would say that was, if that is true, that's not what you want for a coach. Okay? As a head coach, you are a father to those young men, and you have to set a good example. You can't be out here, and in your personal life, do what you want to do. I mean, I don't care about any of that, but it is important the example that a coach is setting, and that kind of goes with what the source told me about the situation. Hey, this didn't have control of the team. Team kind of just did what they wanted. They didn't really seem interested in it. Didn't really, just kind of there. So it's unfortunate. Hopefully, Juan can get a job as assistant coach somewhere or learn from this and be better. Because I can tell you this, he was one of the greatest players in Maryland history. Absolutely. So definitely Hopefully that, and Coppin is going to do a national search for a new coach. Larry Stewart, I think, is a name that definitely should consider. Former Coppin player, definitely a guy I heard he wants the job. Played in the NBA, one of the greatest, so definitely somebody they should consider. But they're going to search for a new coach at Coppin State. Interestingly enough, like a lot of the research I tried to do on that, they kept talking about the Real Housewives foolishness and all that. My sister-in-law watches it. I'll leave that to them, like who it is and all that. They can go ahead and talk about that. But hopefully Coppin can rebound from this, and hopefully he can rebound from this situation and learn from that. And unfortunate for that young man that had to deal with that, which is a key thing as well. That's unacceptable. We have somebody being sexually harassed or anything like that, a player from it's unacceptable. So I understand why Coppin had to do what they did. All right, layoffs coming. So even the great Stephen A. Smith talked about this the other day, that there may be some layoffs coming at ESPN. We had a huge layoff, I think. It actually was long ago, I think like 2017, when they got rid of a lot of ESPN personalities. Trent Dilfer was one, Jay Crawford was one. I think there was another one. It was Ed Werder. They've been there for me. It was a lot of those guys were let go. 2017, and I think he kind of realized that there is a layoff coming. This is kind of what's going on right now. One of the reasons why I didn't take a long career in media, because this happens a lot to people as far as getting laid off from media. It's nothing in the radio business to show up to work and you're locked out of your desk and all that other stuff. That happens a lot. Television, same. Used to be a little bit more stable. Newspapers, everything, media. It's unfortunate, and it's not just it's certainly the case in media. Certainly the case right now for a lot of people losing their jobs. Amazon, I think it was like 9,000 people that was laid off, and it's unfortunate. So it's kind of just unfortunate the world we live in, that we're getting so many people in so many industries getting laid off. We're moving into, and I'm keeping on sports related here. We're moving into a new economy with jobs and all that other stuff. And, I would tell anybody out here, really consider starting your own path and really consider doing that. ESPN. There was, trust me when I tell you, there was one point in my life, there was nothing more than I wanted to work at ESPN. There was nothing more than I wanted to work at ESPN. Anybody who's wanted to be in sports media or anything like that, of course, you wanted to work at ESPN and be on Sports Center and all that other stuff. So, but the change is coming. I don't think it's going to be largely changed. You'll see some faces gone, things gone. I would say cable television is really struggling. I talked about Bally Sports. I talked about a lot of these things. And I think the bigger problem that they're having, young people don't know they're there. I keep repeating that. Like, I have three children under the age of 18, under 15. Really. And they don't watch TV. They don't, they're doing Roblox and all this other stuff. So we hope that we can keep it going at ESPN, and so all of us can watch the games. And our heart goes out to those people that are going through that, and also to anybody else out here that's getting laid off or been through that. I've been through that, so I'm not even mad anymore these days. If something like that was that, I've been through it so many times in my life. It's not even it's not even anything I would even get upset about. So thank you for joining us. Definitely join us for our predictions video that we're going to do, MLB predictions video. That's gonna be a standalone video that we're gonna do. And next week we'll go ahead and get squared away with the Ravery Sports weekly podcasts that we have. All right, so we just want to go ahead and thank you for joining us this week. Definitely enjoy the games this week. We're gonna have a baseball season starting here pretty soon, and we are gonna go ahead and get you all squared away with the new season. And the draft is coming. Love the draft. Thank you. You have a great day.